Welcome to my presentation on algorithmic harm on TikTok. Justification and critical analysis. Can TikTok algorithm be the new age drug? The risk is measurable. One report found 14.8% of underage users were admitted into mental health hospital after viewing harmful content online. The scale is also clear. TikTok is estimated to host 1.1 to 1.4 million under 13s and was fined 12.7 million for allowing 1.4 million under 13s to create an account without parental consent. This becomes algorithmic harm because TikTok optimizes for watch time, with one report stating that after around 200 videos, the recommender system can strongly shape what users see, pushing vulnerable minors into harmful rabbit holes. Impact analysis. Algorithmic harm becomes a wrongdoing when design choices create foreseeable risks. Research has framed harm as physical injury and categorizes algorithmic harm as a wrong when platforms expose people to danger without safeguard. Opacity then blocks accountability, leaving families stuck in long, complex routes to justice after devastating outcomes. Platforms also appear aware of vulnerability. Recommender systems treat accounts that look like struggling adolescents differently, delivering 30% more problematic and 70% more devastating content. That indicates amplification, not protection. So responsibility sits mainly with platforms because they set the objectives and safety control. Ethical analysis. Under a duty of care approach, TikTok has an obligation to take responsible steps to prevent foreseeable harm to its users, especially minors and vulnerable users, because it controls the recommender system and the moderation infrastructure. The ethical risk is not simply users posting harmful content, it is how platforms' design decisions shape what content gets boosted, how quickly it spreads, and whether safeguard intervenes. A former TikTok employee claimed that behind the scene decisions prioritize engagement, retention, and profit over user safety. If accurate, that suggests a predictable conflict between business incentives and protection, which matters under the duty of care when harm is foreseeable. TikTok safety should be built into the system rather than treated as a secondary concern. TikTok live stream have helped police identify perpetrators, but they were also used to provoke violence and cause third-party harm. The fact that this content stayed live long enough to spread indicates weak safeguards which matter under the duty of care because the platform has the capacity and responsibility to intervene earlier. This supports the idea that TikTok isn't just a host of content, but an active distributor through its algorithmic hierarchy, meaning it carries responsibility and reduces the risk its system can predict and amplify. Therefore, TikTok holds primary responsibility for preventing algorithmic harm because it sets the goals, governs content distribution, and controls the safety measures users rely on. The Online Safety Act was introduced to make the online space safer for minors and users, and it also shifts clear responsibility for harmful content onto platforms themselves. Importantly, it's not just about reacting after harm happens. The Act pushes platforms to remove harmful content and take steps to prevent it from being accessible in the first place. However, there's a major tension here. Sargent 2026 agrees that the data use and access DUAA pushes for innovation and economic growth risks, weakening key protections which could create unacceptable harm for people affected by AI-driven decisions. So, even with stronger safety laws, regulations can end up pulling in two directions, protecting users while also encouraging data-driven systems to expand. To conclude, if safety regulations is serious about duty of care, it must prioritize prevention and accountability over growth. Otherwise, the protection exists on paper, but the risk still plays out in real life. Here are a list of my references, and all images were sourced from Canva. Thank you for taking the time out to listen to this presentation.